Amos and Andy wasn't just a TV show, it made history as the first primetime sitcom with an all-black cast, sparking both joy and controversy. But behind the laughs lies a tragic truth. Every actor who brought these iconic characters to life has passed away. From the stars to the supporting players, their legacy still lives on. This groundbreaking show not only entertained millions but also broke barriers for black actors, forever changing the industry. Let's dive into the lives and careers of these trailblazers. If their powerful stories move you, don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more unforgettable tales. Tim Moore brought the unforgettable George Kingfish Stevens to life on Amos and Andy, becoming one of the first black stars in television history. Kingfish was the scheming, larger-than-life central character, always dreaming up a new plan to get rich, often pulling his friends from the mystic nights of the Sea Lodge into his chaotic schemes. Moore's portrayal was so memorable and commanding that he became the undisputed star of the show, with his iconic Georgia accent and larger-than-life personality making every scene he appeared in come alive. Before achieving TV fame, Moore had already spent more than 50 years in the entertainment business. Born Harry Roscoe Moore in Rock Island, Illinois in 1887, he began performing as a child. At age 11, he left school to join a traveling vaudeville act called Cora MSL and her Gold Dust Twins, which was so successful it toured Europe. Moore wasn't just a one-trick pony. He tried his hand at boxing under the name Kid Noble and worked as a jockey, but he always returned to entertainment. He performed in vaudeville with his wives, appeared on Broadway in shows like Blackbirds in 1928, and worked on the theater circuit for decades before television called. When CBS decided to bring Amos and Andy from radio to TV in 1951, they needed black actors to replace the white performers who had voiced the characters on radio. Moore was retired by then, but the steady paycheck convinced him to return. He breathed new life into Kingfish, transforming the character from a radio voice into a fully realized TV personality, using his decades of stage experience to make him unforgettable. His performance made him the first African-American actor to achieve real stardom on television. Sadly, Moore's life ended in tragedy. On December 13, 1958, at age 71, he died from pulmonary tuberculosis in a Los Angeles hospital. Despite his fame and success, Moore had spent his earnings as fast as he made them, leaving nothing for his medical care or funeral. His friend Frank Sinatra stepped in and paid for all his funeral expenses, and thousands attended, including many Hollywood celebrities. Moore's final months were marked by the infamous roast beef scandal, when he was arrested for firing a gun after discovering his in-laws had eaten his leftover roast beef from New Year's dinner. Tim Moore's legacy is more than just a famous TV role. He was a trailblazer who broke barriers and paved the way for future generations of black actors. His performance on Amos and Andy wasn't just about comedy, it shattered the color barrier, proving that black actors could be stars on primetime television. Though his most famous role would later become controversial, Moore's contributions to TV history remain undeniable. Spencer Williams Jr. wasn't just an actor, he revolutionized the way black Americans were represented in film, and his legacy still influences Hollywood today. Before becoming a household name on television, Williams had already established himself as one of the most groundbreaking black filmmakers in history. Born in 1893 in Vidalia, Louisiana, Williams used his platform to create race films, low-budget movies made specifically for black audiences who were largely excluded from mainstream Hollywood. His films like The Blood of Jesus, 1941, broke through barriers by portraying black Americans with dignity and complexity. At a time when most films depicted black people in stereotypical roles, Williams changed the game, shattering the color barrier with every frame he directed. But Williams' path was not without struggle. After years of contributing to the film industry, he returned to television in 1951, taking on the role of Andy Brown in Amos and Andy. Despite his immense talent, Williams had been forced into retirement by financial struggles and the lack of opportunities for black filmmakers. The steady paycheck from television was a relief after his years of fighting to finance independent films. But even as he became a beloved television star, Williams faced the crushing reality of being largely forgotten by the industry he helped shape. Spencer Williams Jr. passed away on December 13, 1969, at the age of 76 from kidney disease. He died in relative obscurity, far from the spotlight that had once been his. The entertainment industry, which had long ignored him after his groundbreaking race films, had moved on. His death, on the same date as his co-star Tim Moore, was marked by little recognition from Hollywood. In his final years, Williams relied on Social Security and a meager pension from his World War I service. Yet, despite the hardship, his contributions to both television and film left an indelible mark on the industry. His story is a tragic reminder of how pioneers can be forgotten by the very system they helped transform. Spencer Williams Jr. didn't just entertain, he changed the course of American cinema, and his legacy continues to shape the voices and stories we see on screen today. Charles Carell may not have appeared on screen in the television version of Amos and Andy, but his influence shaped every episode that aired from 1951 to 1953. As the co-creator of the entire Amos and Andy concept, Carell originally voiced the character of Andy Brown on radio for over 20 years, long before black actors took over the roles for television. He and his partner Freeman Gosden served as producers of the TV series, ensuring that the characters they developed over decades of radio broadcasting would translate smoothly to the new medium of television. Their creative vision and business acumen were key in making the television adaptation possible, even though they stepped back from performing the voices themselves. Carell's journey to creating one of America's most iconic radio shows began in humble circumstances. Born in Peoria, Illinois in 1890, he worked as a stenographer and a bricklayer before discovering his talent for entertainment. These early jobs taught him the value of hard work and persistence, qualities that would serve him well in the show business. In the early 1920s, Carell met Freeman Gosden while both were working for a traveling theater company. They quickly discovered their natural chemistry as performers and started doing a variety show called Sam and Henry on a Chicago radio station, where they played two black characters, something considered acceptable entertainment at the time, though later criticized for its racial stereotypes. The success of Sam and Henry led to the creation of Amos and Andy in 1928, which became one of the most popular radio shows in history. At its peak, the 15-minute program was so popular that movie theaters would pause their films to broadcast the show, and restaurants would turn up their radios to make sure customers didn't miss an episode. Carell voiced Andy Brown and several other characters, developing distinctive personalities and speech patterns that millions of Americans came to know by heart. The show made both Carell and Gosden wealthy and famous, and they continued broadcasting various versions of Amos and Andy until 1960, spanning over 30 years on radio. When television became the dominant form of entertainment, Carell and Gosden made the difficult decision to step aside from performing, but remained involved as producers and creative consultants. They understood that television required visual authenticity, which radio did not, and they worked closely with the black actors who took over the roles to ensure continuity with the characters they had developed. Charles Carell died on September 26, 1972, from a heart attack while visiting a hospital in Chicago. He was 82 years old and had been enjoying a comfortable retirement in Beverly Hills, California, living just a few blocks away from his longtime partner, Freeman Gosden. At the time of his death, Carell had been retired from show business for more than a decade, although he and Gosden briefly returned to television in the early 1960s to provide voices for an animated series. Carell's legacy in broadcasting remains significant, as he helped create one of the first situation comedies and played a crucial role in developing radio as a mass entertainment medium in America. Freeman Gosden was the creative force behind Amos and Andy, and while he never appeared on screen during the television version of the show, his influence shaped every episode that aired from 1951 to 1953. As the co-creator and producer of the television adaptation, Gosden had originally brought the characters of Amos Jones and George Kingfish Stevens to life on radio, voicing multiple roles and developing the distinctive personalities that would later be portrayed by black actors on television. His expertise in comedy timing, character development, and storytelling helped ensure that the transition from radio to television maintained the essence of what made Amos and Andy one of the most popular programs in broadcasting history. Born Freeman Fisher Gosden in Richmond, Virginia in 1899, he discovered his talent for entertainment while working for a traveling theater company in the early 1920s. It was during this time that he met Charles Carell, and together they began experimenting with different radio formats and characters. Gosden had a natural ear for voices and dialects, which proved invaluable when they created their first successful radio show, Sam and Henry, in 1926. This program laid the groundwork for what would become Amos and Andy just 2 years later. When they moved to a different radio station, they were forced to create new characters with similar appeal, and the rest, as they say, is history. The success of Amos and Andy on radio made both Gosden and Carell wealthy and cemented them as pioneers in the development of situation comedy. Gosden voiced the title character Amos, the philosophical cab driver who served as the moral center of the show, as well as the scheming Kingfish and numerous other supporting characters. His ability to switch between different voices and personalities within a single episode showcased his remarkable talent as a performer. The show's popularity was so immense that it influenced American culture in ways that few entertainment programs have ever achieved, with businesses scheduling their operations around the show's broadcast time and millions of families gathering around their radios each evening. Beyond his radio career, Gosden became a prominent figure in Hollywood society, forming lasting friendships with major celebrities and becoming a charter member of the prestigious Augusta National Golf Club in 1932. His social connections and business acumen helped him navigate the entertainment industry successfully for decades. In 1976, he even served as the best man at Frank Sinatra's wedding to Barbara Marx, demonstrating the lasting relationships he had built throughout his career. Freeman Gosden died on December 10, 1982, from congestive heart failure in Los Angeles at the age of 83. He had been living comfortably in retirement after stepping away from regular broadcasting in 1960, when the original Amos and Andy radio show ended its remarkable 32-year run. His death marked the end of an era in American broadcasting, as he had been present at the creation of radio comedy and had helped establish many of the formats that television would later adopt. Gosden's contributions to American entertainment extended far beyond any single show, as he helped create the foundation for situation comedy that continues to influence television programming today. Ernestine Wade brought the character of Sapphire Stevens to life on both the radio and television versions of Amos and Andy, creating one of the most memorable female characters in early broadcasting history. As the sharp-tongued wife of Kingfish, Sapphire served as both the voice of reason and the source of comic conflict in many episodes, often calling out her husband's schemes while trying to keep their household running. Wade's performance was so distinctive and powerful that she became one of the few actors to successfully transition from radio to television, maintaining the essence of her character across both mediums. Her portrayal of Sapphire made her one of the most recognizable black actresses of the 1950s, at a time when opportunities for African-American performers were extremely limited. Born in Jackson, Mississippi in 1906, Wade grew up in a family with strong connections to the entertainment world. Her mother performed in vaudeville, and her grandmother worked at the Lincoln Theater in Baltimore. Wade trained as a singer and organist from an early age, and when her family moved to Los Angeles, she gained access to the growing entertainment industry in California. She began her acting career at the age of 4 and continued performing throughout her childhood, developing the skills that would later make her a successful radio actress. In 1935, she became a member of a singing group called the Four Hot Chocolates, which helped establish her reputation as a versatile performer. Wade's breakthrough came when she auditioned for the Amos and Andy radio show in the late 1930s. Initially, she landed a role as a character named Green. The story of her audition became part of broadcasting legend when she was first hired for a singing role, but was later asked to read lines and then scream. Her powerful scream immediately landed her the role of Sapphire Stevens in 1939. Wade continued in the role for over a decade on radio before reprising it for television. She also provided voice work for Disney's Song of the South in 1946, playing a butterfly, and appeared in the film Rhapsody in Blue as part of a choir. Throughout her career, Wade defended her work on Amos and Andy against critics who felt the show perpetuated harmful stereotypes of African Americans. She argued that the program actually portrayed black people in professional roles, such as doctors, lawyers, and business owners, rather than limiting them to typical servant roles that were common in entertainment at the time. Wade believed her work and that of her colleagues opened doors for future generations of black performers to find better opportunities in television and film. Ernestine Wade passed away on April 15, 1983 in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 76. She had continued working in television and radio after Amos and Andy ended, doing voice work for commercials and appearing in guest roles on various shows. Her death marked the passing of one of the pioneering women in radio and early television, an actress who helped establish the medium during its formative years and created a character that remains memorable decades after the show ended. Ernestine Wade's legacy lies in her role as a trailblazer who proved that black actors could carry major roles in American entertainment, paving the way for performers who followed. Johnny Lee created one of television's most memorable comic characters in Algonquin J. Calhoun, the self-proclaimed lawyer who rarely won a case but never stopped trying. On Amos and Andy, Calhoun was the kind of attorney who would take any case for the right price, often representing Kingfish in his various schemes and legal troubles. Though his courtroom skills were questionable at best, Lee brought a unique energy to the role, making Calhoun both incompetent and endearing, a man whose confidence far exceeded his abilities, but whose heart was usually in the right place. His portrayal helped establish the character as a fan favorite, and his distinctive voice and comic timing made every scene he appeared in memorable for television audiences across America. Born John Datsun Lee Jr. in Los Angeles in 1898, Lee began his entertainment career as a dancer before expanding into singing and acting. He spent much of his early career performing in vaudeville, where he developed the skills in physical comedy and vocal performance that would later serve him well in radio and television. During the 1930s and 1940s, Lee appeared in several films, usually in small roles, but he found his true calling in voice work and radio performance. His ability to create distinctive character voices made him valuable to radio producers who needed versatile performers capable of bringing multiple characters to life. Lee's most famous work before Amos and Andy came when Disney hired him to provide the voice of Br'er Rabbit in the 1946 film Song of the South. His performance as the clever and mischievous rabbit in the Uncle Remus stories showcased his talent for bringing animated characters to life through voice alone. The film became a classic of Disney animation, and Lee's work as Br'er Rabbit remained one of his most recognized achievements throughout his career. He also appeared in other films during the 1940s, including Come On Cowboy and She's Too Mean for Me, though these roles were smaller and less memorable than his voice work. When Amos and Andy moved from radio to television, Lee was one of the performers who successfully made the transition, taking on the role of Algonquin J. Calhoun and making it completely his own. His performance combined the character's legal pretensions with genuine warmth and humor, creating a figure that audiences loved despite his obvious shortcomings as an attorney. Lee understood how to make incompetence funny without making it mean-spirited, and his Calhoun became one of the show's most quotable characters. Johnny Lee passed away on December 12, 1965, from a heart attack in Los Angeles at the age of 67. His death came relatively early compared to some of his fellow cast members, cutting short a career that had brought joy to audiences through both his voice work and his television performances. Lee had been working steadily until his final years, continuing to take on various entertainment projects and maintaining his connection to the industry that had been his life's work. Johnny Lee's contribution to American entertainment, particularly through his voice work and his memorable television character, helped establish the foundation for character acting that would influence comedy performers for generations to come. Amos and Andy wasn't just a TV show, it broke new ground in American entertainment and opened doors for black actors. While its portrayal of African Americans sparked debate, its impact on future generations of performers is undeniable. The legacy of its iconic cast still lives on today. If you enjoyed this look back at Amos and Andy, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more fascinating stories from TV history.